here we are then in Assetto Corsa on Xbox in the amazing sounding Audi R8, and we're going to be looking at how to get it set up around the Red Bull ring. So welcome back to the channel, people, viewers, subscribers, whatever you want to call yourselves. But yes, we're not using Project Cars 2 in this video, and purely down to the fact that there's been so many people complaining about the force feedback. I thought I'd do a video where a few other subscribers might be able to get involved on Assetto Corsa. Now, when I first started looking at this video, I wanted to try and find a lap or a car really round a certain track that sounded amazing, to be honest, and what better car to do it in than the Audi R8. Now, obviously, my game of choice is Project Cars 2, and getting used to how the car gets set up in Assetto Corsa has certainly been a bit of an eye-opener. I've spent probably about 8 to 10 hours driving this car around this circuit and still only managed to get myself into the 129s. Now, initially when I started out, I was probably hitting about a 131, and after a few laps I was into the low 30s. But trying to get further down into the 29s or even touching the 28s has been an absolute nightmare. But I'll get into this video and we'll have a look at the setup and a few do's and don'ts around the circuit if you're still around that same sort of benchmark as myself, hitting a 129. Just getting straight into it, turn 1, you definitely want to avoid that first curb. It can certainly get the car spun round, lose you a heck of a lot of traction, and you probably end up in the barrier like I just did. Now, this was an online race that I took part in after doing numerous laps here, and just getting on that inside there, positioning the car on the outside to take turn 1 and end up in the lead. Now, throughout this race, that was probably about as close as the other driver got, and I ended up winning the race. So driving this circuit for the past 8 to 10 hours certainly gave me some experience and managed to get my first win online and my first pole position. But moving back to the Audi, this is my fastest lap, setting a 129.6. So you can see there, just allowing the car to run wide out onto the curb and almost over the yellow sausage curb, but try not to go over that curb at all because you do end up picking up a track limits penalty. Trying to get the car positioned over on the left hand side and braking just after, or just before really, the 100-yard board, just getting the car slowed down to second gear and then accelerating hard out of the corner. I really didn't ever manage to get this car running nicely without any traction control, but just getting used to the game really, getting used to the feel of how the car handles, getting used to the sensation of grip as well. Some corners feel really good, real positive grip, and some corners you just get that understeer sensation. This being one of the tricky corners to get the car set up for, always seemed to want to have mid-corner understeer, and then on corner entry it seemed like it was oversteering and just a loss of grip, and then it's just been a real tough car to get set up, especially if using a system that I'm not particularly clued up on really. Going into this corner I always felt like the rear end was about to step away, and then down into this one again, just that rear end fighting for grip. But managed to set a 129.6 on this lap. Certainly running maybe 2 or 3 laps gets the tyres into a better window to set a faster lap. But it really has been an eye-opener trying to set a car up using a different platform, and I really would be interested to see what you guys think about featuring more cars. I know it's an old game, but with Assetto Corsa Competizione coming up, it's something I might really want to get used to, how the tuning menus work within this game. So moving on to the setup, and probably one of the things that really does annoy me about this game, and I hope this sorts it for Assetto Corsa Competizione, is setting your field of view. Every single time I come into this game, no matter which car I get in, I need to adjust the field of view. I press the save button every single time, yet it still doesn't save. Anyway, let's look over this setup. Moving into the setup, I'm not 100% sure where to begin with this one. I had so many issues through setting it up, I really wasn't sure where to start. adjusting the gear ratios to try and get them to work best, slowing down the car. First gear I just adjusted that for starting off, and the differential at the rear just never seemed to be able to get the car sideways coming out of a corner. It just didn't seem to make any difference how I adjusted it. Obviously running the soft tyre, just getting used to what sort of tyre pressures to be running, just trying to adjust the rear cambers to get a little bit more grip, and adjusting that front toe as well, just to try and get the rear end to grip on corner entry, trying to get the rear end to step out a little bit as well during corner exit. There just seemed to be so many things I weren't sure on how to adjust them in Assetto Corsa to try and get the best out of the car. Lowering the ride height at the front, raising it at the rear, softening the suspension at the rear, stiffening the front end of the car. There was just so many permutations that I went through that never really got me outside of setting a 129 lap. Adjusting the force feedback didn't really change very many things. Adjusting the dampers was probably the biggest thing that made a change. Traction control, I tried it with and without. But yeah, that was the setup. If you pause it at any point, maybe a little bit more structure during the next videos if you want me to feature more Assetto Corsa stuff, but you could see everything through that section there. But let's get on to having a drive around the circuit. So just slowing things down a little bit, you're wanting to get out on the left hand curb as you enter that corner, just braking just before the 100-yard board and trying to get the car slowed down into third gear. Then accelerating all the way up using as much of the gear as possible but without bouncing on the limiter, and again we're looking for that 100-yard board on the left hand side, moving across to get some of that curb, and don't touch the inside curb. It really does make the suspension wobble and just stops you getting on the power as early as possible. I did try using the traction control off through there, and it's really temperamental getting back on the power, so just using one on the traction control. Again, braking at the 100-yard board and moving on to the left-hand side curb, and again just trying to clip that apex into second gear and then accelerating hard out of there. Looking for the board on the right-hand side and braking just before it, down into fourth and then just down into third, trying to hug really closely on that left inside curb, running out wide and pick up this inside curb. It's got a really nice ride up onto the curb, and then just allowing the car to drift out onto the right-hand side of the circuit. Again, just blasting our way up into sixth gear and looking for a gap in between the 100 and the 50-yard board before we brake down into fourth gear. Don't run all the way wide out like I did and pick up a penalty, and then dropping down into third for the last corner. And that's the lap. Not probably one of my finest videos, but one I probably do want to feature just because of the amount of time I spent on it. Now, if you do want me to feature any more Assetto Corsa content, and there is other cars and tracks that you would like me to cover, please do so. There are a few other Project Car 2 videos that I'd like to get done, especially one for Andrew Simpson that asked very nicely to have a look at some of the touring cars. So coming up in the next video will probably be some touring cars and Project Cars 2. Anyway, thanks for watching guys, and stay tuned to the channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, please do leave a comment. If there's anything you can help me with on Assetto Corsa, please do add it in the comments, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Ciao for now.